Hi, hello, welcome to another video. This is a spoiler-filled reading experience slash review video for the book A Dark and Secret Place by Jen Williams. The only other books that I read by Jen Williams were the Winnowing Flame trilogy, which I fucking loved. So I got into this book a little hesitant because her first trilogy is a fantasy or fantasy sci-fi, and this is like a mystery thriller. So I was like, mystery thrillers are not usually my thing, but man, I freaking love this book. But before I talk more about this book here and now, I'm going to display a little bit of the reading experience. A Dark and Secret Place is about Heather, who just found out that her mother committed suicide and she had to go back to her home, what is it again? No, her childhood home, and kind of take care of stuff. And she's confused though, because her mother left a suicide note that says, "I'm sorry for leaving you both behind." It's very cryptic. It says something about, you know, be careful in the forest in the dark or whatever. And she just doesn't understand why her mother would commit suicide. Now, something else comes up where she realizes that her mom was receiving and sending letters to a serial killer, the Red Wolf, who was known for killing women and then making these very lovely displays with nature and plants, like putting their bodies mixed with seeds and plants and things like that, and it would just, yeah, grotesque things. And so because there's a connection between her mom and that serial killer, and seems to be a copycat killer that is now just starting up, doing the same types of murders, Heather gets asked if she can talk with the serial killer, who is in jail. And she wanted to do it anyways because she wanted to know the connection and potentially learn more about her mom and maybe why she killed herself, because she doesn't know much about her mom. So she's like, hell yeah, I'll go talk to him. And she meets him and she doesn't really get a lot of information. It's very well written, where like you can really believe that this is talking to a guy who's been in jail for a long time, has sociopathic tendencies, is just, you know, hard to talk to. She's also learning that her mom grew up partially in a place called, I forgot exactly what it was called. It was like a hippie place. So like a lot of people, you know, those like 60s hippies, like Woodstock type of place, but this is all taking place in England or Britain or whatever. Her mom grew up partially there, so did Michael. And the thing is, Michael is the serial killer. The thing is, you get some chapters of when Michael was a kid and you learn that he killed his mom. Not very clear how, although I think he fell down the stairs with her and she died. And I don't know, this old man from that hippie resort reserve, I guess, he takes in Michael. And there was a particular chapter, I think it was the recent chapter that I read. I think it's like chapter 14 or something like that. Yeah, I think it's chapter 14. Chapter 14, the old man brings him to a shed, and in the shed there are baby chicks, and he tells Michael that he can do what he wants with them. He's not specific. And Michael decides to go to the river with the chicks because he realizes, he's like, well, I can't feed them. I have nothing to feed them with. I don't know where to put them. I don't know how to take care of them. So instead what he decides to do is he decides to suffocate them in the mud, which is, it's described not really in detail, but kind of, it's just really horrible. And then he comes back from the river and he's covered in mud, and the old man knows what he did, obviously. It's kind of, you know, subtext. And he hands him a bag of kittens, and he tells him, you can do whatever you want with these too. So, you know, the implication there is done. And I'm just like, I don't know what to think. I don't know if Michael is young enough to be, you know, impressionable to be turned into a killer, and the old man is the true sociopath. Like, am I supposed to feel sympathy for Michael? Because Michael says that he is not the killer, that he kept saying he wasn't, but they, you know, imprisoned him anyways because the evidence was damning. So yeah, that's kind of fucked up. And also you get snippets of people that are being killed in present day by the Red Wolf copycat killer, supposedly. I don't know. It's really weird. And the serial killer's giving these creepy stories that her mom supposedly really liked. And Heather is just like, my mom never seemed to enjoy these creepy stories ever. Like, I don't know what the fuck all this is. So it's very cryptic, and I'm very much enjoying it. It is very creepy, a lot creepier than I expected. I love the way Jen Williams writes, especially since it is creepy, but at the same time, you feel really connected to this character. She feels like a real person. It's not just your typical thriller that's like thing happening after thing. You get to know people, you get to know the setting, you feel like there's a little more than there is, and I don't know. It's very good. So I will continue probably more tomorrow than tonight because Ryan has funnies for me. So
I want Taco Bell.
Oh, I'm really, really loving it. It's getting very interesting. There's like all these little things that are happening, and I just don't know what I'm supposed to be expecting. Because, like, I want to know who the current new murderer is, who's causing the murders, but I also want to understand if Michael, who's in jail, who was accused of being the Red Wolf, if he really did kill people. I mean, it's very convincing that he did. He's disturbed in some way, and the way that, like, the police are talking about it, or the cop guy, Ben, forgot his last name, D.I. Parker, Ben Parker, the way he talks about it, where he's just like, you know, every time Heather goes to talk to Michael, he says, you know, be careful, keep in mind that he's still a killer, and the way he thinks is twisted. And now she went to go see him again, and Michael gives her this story about a king and his daughter. Was that the one that I recently read? No, it was about the guy with the snake, and the snake that if you, oh my god, I forgot what it was, but then there's a pit of bones, and Heather says, oh, well, the guy pushed the guy into the pit of bones as a sacrifice to the land, you know, for knowledge and for, I don't know, something. And Michael said, you're getting closer, you're starting to understand. And then Heather says, I want to know your story. I want to know, like, what happened to you. And he says, again, he's like, no one cares about my story. She says, I do. And then he said, I've been telling you my story this whole time. So the stories he's been telling, the sort of like fairy tale-esque stories, they're supposed to somehow reflect parts of his life and be a part of him. And I'm just curious how that all ties together. And then there's the bird thing that happened. The bird that was in her house that died, and then she put it outside, and somehow the feathers and the towel, the like lilac towel, ended up in the bathroom cabinet where her toothbrush was again. And she's just like, I put that toothbrush in there in the morning and those feathers weren't there before. So how did it get in there? And there's apparently a dark figure that's like hanging around her house. And I'm just like, what is happening? Is she being watched? Is it the Red Wolf? What's the connection between her family and her? I don't know. I'm really, really invested in this. Okay, so I'm on chapter 30 of this book, and spoilers, because I'm going to be talking about a theory that I have, so that means I'm probably going to be talking about the stuff happening in this book, to give a little bit of context. So basically, trying to figure out who the killer is, who the new killer is, because there was the old killer, Red Wolf. Now it's a new killer. And this whole time I'm trying to figure out who it is, because the mom killed herself. And now you're wondering, why the f*** did the mom kill herself? Because she advocated for who was convicted for being the Red Wolf. And she, like, sent him letters. She thought he was a good guy. I guess, maybe, that's what we're understanding. She at least sent him letters back. And the daughter's trying to figure out who it is. Now, I had some wild theories. I was like, she might have, you know, a dual personality or whatever the f*** is, DID, and she is the killer because he's actually her baby daddy or something. Those are wild. But now, I'm reading chapter 30, and I'm starting to get a more concrete idea. Spoilers are going to continue. So, some chapters are other characters that come up. One of them was like this Fiona girl, she ended up getting murdered. So you're getting perspectives on other characters that are being killed off. Women that are being targeted by this new so-called copycat Red Wolf killer. And this one is a girl who looked for her mom, Kathy. No. Her name is Kathy. The daughter's name is Kathy, and the mom is Jane. And so basically she was adopted. But her adoptive mom died, and so she tried to find her real mom. And it was all very secret. And I'm like, hold on. This Red Wolf killer, Michael, the convicted killer, and the main character's mom, they lived in this, like, hippie commune or whatever
called something Hills, Park, Field, whatever. And there was a lot of sex and drugs, and there was a weird, shady thing going on with, I think, sex workers. So, my theory is that these new women that are being killed in present day, they're actually, like, either kids that the old man who was with Michael, or Michael, I don't know. But I'm thinking that they're ladies that got impregnated, and now they're being killed off again. I'm just trying to figure out who would it be, because Michael's in jail. Maybe it's the old man that raised him. I mean, fucking, you know, old men, they can be fucking strong if they want to be. So, yeah, it's gotta be that, right? It's like his kids or the women that he had sex with, and then, because he was getting rid of what's-her-face's baby, the crazy girl's baby. It's gotta be that, man. Like, it's gotta be something related to kids that were had later on. Oh my gosh, I don't know, but this book is freaking amazing. So yes, indeed, I was right. This lady dies, and it's in her shed when she's trying to put away her kids' her kids' scooters. And, this is creepy, though, I have to say. Now I'm starting to think that this killer thing isn't even a human. Which, you know, I mean, it's Jen Williams. It totally doesn't have to be a human. Okay, but so it's something that takes her, and then it just says, I'm here now. The voice in her ear was soft, almost friendly. I'm here to take you home. What? Unless this is someone completely deranged, but they often have mentioned, or at least Michael has, about how the earth, nature, whatever, it needs a price. He even told like these creepy Grimm stories, the Brothers Grimm stories of like nature and magic and how it all comes full circle, you know? Like there's something needs to be given in order to receive, you know? It's creepy. So I was saying fuck Tristan, but man, Heather said fuck Tristan so fucking much. She stabbed a pen into his hand. This whole time I was wondering, how did she lose her job? It was coming up, like she was a journalist and she lost her job. And I was like, how did that happen? She rammed a pen into a man's hand, which totally justified. He was being an ass. I mean, he was being a misogynistic fucking asshole. And yeah, and wow, damn, this is the kind of feminine rage I want to read. This is the kind of shit that like really points the finger at the bullshit women have to deal with sometimes. And honestly, like, oh, this is so well written. I love this. I love this hint at it in a novel that's not primarily focused around that message, because in a way, it's a more powerful message to me, in my opinion. It's great. Love it. So, pretty big spoilers here because this is the end. Can you imagine what it would be like if you went home because your mom offed herself, and then you learn that there's a connection between your mom and a serial killer, and then you learn that the serial killer is your baby daddy, and on top of that, your mom actually had twins, and she had to give your twin brother to Dad and his creepy old man mentor, grandpa person, so that your twin could turn into a serial killer as well. I mean, she didn't plan for him to turn into a serial killer, but that's what happened. But then you find, like, this whole time you had no idea. You had no idea your dad was a serial killer. You had no idea you had a twin brother who got turned into a serial killer, and that you can see ghost dogs that probably inflict people with murder.
So, A Dark and Secret Place is a book about a girl who goes back to her hometown because her mother has committed the seppuku, and her daughter, Heather? I'm not wrong, right? Yeah. Her daughter, Heather, didn't know why. She was like, I don't think my mom ever had any kind of thoughts like this. This is out of the blue. Mind you, they don't have a super close relationship due to things that have happened in the past. But yeah, she goes there and she's trying to figure out why her mom made that choice, why she took her own life. And she discovers these bits and pieces that don't make sense. She discovers these letters that her mom was getting from a guy, a serial killer, a guy who was convicted years ago, who was accused of being the Red Wolf, who would take women and do this weird, like, it's pretty grotesque. It's like a mixing of plants and herbs and the body, and I don't know. I imagined like a person being kind of like eviscerated and having like plants put in their flesh like it was a human terracotta pot. I'm sorry if that's really graphic, but that's kind of what I pictured. Anyways, he was put in jail for that, and he never really fully confessed to the murders. And now Heather has realized that so his name was Michael Reeve, he has been sending letters to her mom. And so she goes to meet him because she's like, well, I want answers. How do you know my mom? And so throughout the story, you basically get Heather learning about who her mom was. But honestly, mostly you're learning about the killer. You learn about her mom kind of later on in the book. But it was so interesting because the beginning of the story, you really feel like maybe Michael is innocent. Like he was, because you get his chapters. He was a abused child. He was taken in by this old guy who lived on oh my god, I kept forgetting what it was called. Fiddler's Mill. Let me not forget that. Okay, so you're learning a lot. So what was I saying again? Yeah, Michael gets then taken in by this old man who lives on Fiddler's Mill, which Fiddler's Mill has a common known history of just having a lot of like hippie druggies staying out there and like, I don't know, caravans and stuff like that. But no one really knew that the Red Wolf was actually at Fiddler's Mill as well, and all the victims were mostly from Fiddler's Mill. So the bad history, or the bad, association to Fiddler's Mill was just drugs. So it wasn't common knowledge. And Heather is slowly discovering that Michael lived there and he met her mom through there. And yeah, a lot of shit happens. Honestly, it's so well written though that I loved the character development of Heather too. Because Heather lost her job as a journalist. I guess she's a journalist. Yeah, she lost her job as a journalist, and the way she lost her job is fucking badass. Basically, one of her colleagues was being an absolute misogynistic asshole, and she stabbed a pencil or a pen through his hand, and then she fucking chucked her hot coffee in his face. And I'm like, yes. But yeah, she got fired from her job for that. So at the beginning of the book, you have kind of her using the connection between her mom and the killer, not only to know more about her mother and potentially why she killed herself, but also to try and get her career back, which it made a lot of sense. And her logic behind it was like conflicting, where she was like, should I really be doing this? Like, this is my mom we're talking about and her history, and I'm just trying to get something out of it, and it ruins her relationship with Ben Parker, which is unfortunate because that was an interesting, I don't know, I thought it was so well done, where I'm like, it's very realistic, where like people fuck up and it ruins some of their chances. But yeah, so that was a great, I don't know, a side story, I guess, a great addition to it. Really brought some more realism and humanity to the character. So, which I think is probably why I liked this one so much. I don't feel like I get a lot of those incredibly nuanced situations and characterizations of characters in mystery thrillers. I feel like I don't get that a lot. Is that just me? That might just be me. I don't know. It's because I read a mystery thriller after A Dark and Secret Place, and it wasn't quite as good. So maybe it's just, I love Jen Williams. She's a great author. So after the, what was I talking about again? Right, so there was that happened. Then you get into more of the meaty stuff after she fucks up with Ben Parker and she gets caught having leaked information to her previous employer, who then published the article sooner than she had asked them to because they're assholes. And then she starts getting more caught up in these, well, she's not getting more caught up, but there are more strange things happening around her, because this entire time she has also been having this weird thing happening with a bird going in her house and like dying, and then these hearts that are etched into things and finding notes and just creepy things, okay? There were a lot of times where I was like, there's a paranormal aspect to this. There's no fucking way. Like a bird just comes in. No way. Anyways, then you have the chapters from the past and chapters from the present. And so all of this is kind of just happening. And Heather is still trying to figure out what the connection her mother and the serial killer have. And at that point I was like, he's her daddy. That's the big reveal that's going to happen. And it is one of the reveals, so I was kind of on there. But what I didn't expect was that she had a fucking sibling. So let me break it down from here, okay? Basically, by towards like middle slash endish part, the whole like whatever it is, the resolution of the action, I don't know what it's called. People who write books know the terminology better than I do. Heather tells her friend that she wants to go to Fiddler's Mill because she wants to figure out what this connection is with her mom and the serial killer and Fiddler's Mill, because it's all kind of intermingled. And they go there, and well, basically what happens is that a lot of things happen, so I'm just gonna kind of cut to it. But her friend flirts with a guy who lives out in the mountains doing sculpture. He comes back over. She didn't know they were over. She fell asleep. She's having these weird fucking moments because she's highly stressed and weird shit's happening all around her. I would be too. She finds the guy dead and her friend missing. She gets a call, I believe. I don't remember if it was a call or a note, but it says, you know where she is, you know who you are. It's this really creepy shit. So she goes down to a cabin that's kind of like on the outskirts of Fiddler's Mill, I think was what it was called. And in there she finds the old man who took Michael in, okay? And there's also another one, a younger one. And the younger one is her twin brother, because her mom got impregnated by the serial killer Michael. And he told the old man guy, and the old man guy demanded that her mother give the child over to be one of the red wolves, one of the whatever. So there was a paranormal eldritch magic creepiness to it, to like the old forest thing. It was really cool, honestly. Kind of had a dark fantasy vibe to it almost for a minute. And so yeah, they take one of the babies because they didn't know she had twins, so she hid that. And so the rest of her life she had to accept the fact that she gave up a baby because she didn't want to also be murdered. Though I do feel like there could have been a moment where she called the cops, told someone that she had to give her baby to crazy psychopath forest dweller people. And the two grandmas that were in the past that Michael knew, they were still around too. And the dog, the black dog, I fucking called it at the beginning of the book. When it says the old man had a black dog, I was like, that black dog sketch, okay? I know Celtic folklore, okay? I know black dogs are a sign of death. Okay, so I did call that out. The dog is immortal. The two grandmas, I didn't quite understand their purpose, but they knew about the killers, and I think they were helping them. Like, I think they were supposed to be like a spirit of the forest. They were all spirits of the forest. The black dog, I don't know if the black dog was like possessing these guys or altering their minds to think like we need to sacrifice for the forest. I don't know. Is any of this making sense? I don't know if it is. Also, this is like my first time doing a video where I talk in depth of books that I've read. So I hope you guys enjoy this. If you're wondering what happens at the very, very end, Heather gets kidnapped with her friend. They're both in the same place. Oh, Heather killed her twin brother because he was insane and he was like, only one of us can be the red wolf or whatever. She kills him. She goes because she has some badass fucking pen hand stabbing maneuvers. So she got him good. And then she's captured with her friend, the old man, or no, she's not captured with her friend. She sees her friend and another girl that are captured, and she's like, okay, I gotta get in here and I gotta save them. And the old man is there, and he's like, you're gonna have to kill me to get them out or something, and she does. Yeah, and then the part that I know is creepy about the dog thing is because she mentions it, and her friend is like, what dog? What dog are you talking about? There's no dog. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? But yes, that's ultimately it. That's kind of how it ended, honestly. Like, right? Am I right? Did it have an epilogue? No, because then after that it just goes into her other book, which I'm definitely gonna read, which is Games for Dead Girls. So yeah, that's basically the story, everything that happened, everything I loved about it. The writing is freaking amazing. I love the way Jen Williams writes. The dialogues were always great. There's always a little bit of humor, and there's just enough of everything. Just enough humor, just enough severity and stakes and mystery. It worked great, okay? So if you're at all interested in reading it, even after everything that I've said, or you're even more curious and interested in reading it because of everything that I said, I highly, highly recommend it. It was so freaking amazing. So that is it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If not, that's your prerogative, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!